23 years ago, the alien Ceph invaded our world. We stopped them. Victory costs. Every time you pay a little more. They call me Prophet. I saw a glimpse of what's coming. And there was nothing left of me to stop it.
Crysis 3 takes us to a ruined New York. Set after the events of the last game, the organization known as Cell are continuing to toy with the alien technology that brought the predatory beasties to the planet in the first place. Captain Price impersonator and walking testicle Psycho bring Prophet in to find out what the Cell guys are up to.
Whoa, easy, friendlies.
Psycho was in the first game and its expansion, and now he's back to be your main buddy here as part of some anti-cell resistance unit. And I'm glad, because there's some really nice moments between him and Prophet. Psycho has been cut out of his fancy suit, and you can see it's affected his mental state as he has withdrawals from its power.
They took my nanosuit, Prophet. I'm human.
Human? You know how much I've sacrificed to stop the Ceph. How do I get that back?
Even with quite a solid performance, I found it hard to get invested in a soldier who's just complaining about not having a suit.
Yeah, it does get a bit tired, that subject matter, after a while, and even though he says it's not really about the suit, I think it kind of is. I can't work out what else it would be about. It is more interesting than Prophet's storyline, though, which is all that more machine than man stuff, which is feeling a little bit tired with Crysis.
You might as well be a fucking machine because you sure as hell ain't no human being anymore. I mean, you never were much good at it to begin with, but Jesus Christ, look at you now!
Plus, all the dialogue feels like it's narrated to you rather than involving you in what's going on, so...
But story isn't why we play Crysis, it's about planning out and executing an attack as an overpowered half-man, half-machine juggernaut. And this game embraces the planning stage we love so much from the original Crysis, with more big outdoor areas and tricks up your sleeve. Using your visor, you'll scan the battlefield and mark enemies on your map, and also hack mines and turrets.
Oh, so much hacking, and that minigame never changes.
Max, you don't have a clue.
It does redeem itself a little bit, though, with the addition of a hunting bow. Using the bow doesn't break stealth, and it lets you thin the herd before you go in for a fight. Overall, there's more of a focus on stealth now, and you can see missions designed with bits of cover strategically placed so that you can pick your way around the map unseen. And stealth kills avoid reinforcements from being called in.
I remember in the last game really enjoying all the stealth stuff, especially with the humans, but here it felt a little bit dated to me. Ever since Hitman Absolution, I just want a bit more out of stealth now. It's not bad, it's just not great. You're right though, the bow is a great addition, and you can also pick up the odd alien weapon. There's different ammo types for the bow and most guns. In fact, all the weapon customization is great. You'll switch up on the fly, and it becomes more important to do so on the harder difficulties. All the customization menus are quick and intuitive.
Oh, good menus, Barjo.
Good menus.
The guns all handle with a good weight too, with plenty of options. Plus, they look so shiny. It's a shame they didn't explore those alien weapons more. I mean, we only found 2 or 3 of them, and you can't keep them on you once they run out of juice.
I am glad they've gone for these bigger open areas though, except I think overgrown New York isn't quite as visually interesting as the actual New York in the last game. Actually, I struggled with the level design in general. I enjoyed the sections with the big striders, and my favourite area was all the aliens running around in the grass impersonating velociraptors, and that really embraced the ruined New York theme. But in the bigger areas, I found that I was getting a little bit lost, and there were also some ledges that I couldn't climb onto, and I wanted to get up top and plan my attack, but I just couldn't get there. There were even invisible walls, and it makes me feel like they only want you to go a specific certain number of ways in these areas, so it's almost an illusion of a sandbox. And I also found some of the objectives just a bit confusing.
Yeah, but I still prefer those semi-sandbox areas to the linear structure of 2, though. And getting lost doesn't bother me so much. I mean, I didn't mind exploring, but what got to me was that you're dragged around the levels by small objectives, which are essentially switches. I hate switches. And from a gamer's perspective, it just feels like a really lazy way to pull you through a level. I mean, is it too much to ask for better narrative-based objectives?
Yeah, there was one in particular which drove me crazy where you had to disable these 2 generators around a dam by flicking some switches, and then you just blew up the dam anyway.
You have multiple cell units moving on your position.
Why don't you just do that first?
Plus, once again, in so much of the game, you don't get to do any of the cool stuff. And this time, I really felt like I should have been allowed to. And on the odd occasion, you do get to aim something or mash a button. It feels tacked on. The worst example is probably this flying mission. It's visually exciting, but you don't feel that involved at all. It's also confusing because the previous cutscene even had little aiming squares, but you couldn't do anything. I mean, if you're gonna give me little block-on squares, let me shoot at them.
Yeah, there's a few issues with this game, I think. It also doesn't feel different enough to 2. It feels more like an expansion, really, and maybe that comes down to the less than 2 years development time. But the biggest issue is the game's length. We finished it in 6.5 hours, and that's almost half what the last Crysis game was. And I thought I could bank on Crysis, holding the line in a time where most FPSs are 5-hour campaigns or 6. And I remember the moment clearly, Hex. I was playing a level that suddenly got very, very difficult, and I thought, no, not Crysis. And I could sense that the end was coming, and then bam, credits. Maximum disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, you probably could play this game a little bit slower and everyone's playtime will vary, but I didn't feel like we were rushing it much. Plus, I can handle a short game if it's got something really epic, if it's a journey that really stays with you. But this ends up being a couple of average boss fights, some nice visuals and solid ideas, but you just don't get a chance to see it play out.
Yeah, and like with the suit customization, it was a really good idea and I could see lots of options there, but I barely unlocked 3 or 4 of them before the game was over. Okay. We are sounding a bit harsh here, and I think that may be partly because we're playing this on console. We're used to playing this on PC, and Crysis is known for pushing those PC visuals, so it does feel like a little bit of a step back. It is still a very good looking game on console though, especially in the smaller enclosed areas and when the enemies get up close, they're nice and shiny. We did have a chance to play it on PC for the multiplayer beta though, and that was fantastic. For a start, you can stay connected online for more than 5 minutes, which was something that we could never really get to happen with 2. And fighting other super soldiers is so much fun. The sound of your armor crunching, the awesome ground pound, and hiding in plain sight with a shotgun loaded up and ready to go, it's better than ever.
You are now a hunter. Eliminate the cell operatives.
I especially liked the new Hunter mode, where Marines are slowly wiped out by other players using a bow in permanent stealth. It really plays with your fears, and you'll find yourself twitching and checking behind yourself every few seconds.
I also like just leaping about in these multiplayer maps and doing that slide. Good parkour system. Final thoughts, Hex?
Well, I think if you never played Crysis 2, then you will really enjoy this. But fans of this series, they might be left wanting. So I'm giving this maximum 7.
I'm giving it maximum 7.5.